everyone, this is Mohammed and I am spending my last day with the GR Yaris. I've owned this car for about 18 months now. It's been one of the better 18 months of my life, I would say, because of that car. And yeah, it's getting picked up today, later this morning actually. And yeah, it's a sad day indeed. As you can see, we're in inclement weather. Very rainy Melbourne today, even though yesterday was really hot, like 25. This is normal. This is one of the areas where this car shines. So for the past year and a half, I've driven this car a lot. I would say I've really enjoyed it. It's I've added about 16,000 kilometers onto the car, and yeah, it's been quite breezy, I would say. Being a relatively new car, reliability wise, not much to say there. You know, it's only less than 2 years and it's only 16,000 kilometers. I've had to service it once. For some reason, this car has a 6-month interval for the services. Most cars have 12-month intervals, so it's quite frequent. But when I took it to Toyota here in Croydon, Melbourne, it was, I think it was $300 per service, so not too expensive. That's oil filter and I think rotating the tires. I've also had to change the pads. Myself and the previous owner drove this car pretty spiritedly, so the brake pads were low. 20,000 may sound, so now it's on 23. 20,000 may seem a bit too low for brake pads, but yeah, this car eats through a lot of brake pads, brake pad material really, because it's got really big brakes on the front. I can't remember the compound, but anyway, that's basically what I had to do for the car. I got the car second hand, only about 6 months of age. It was, I think I got it at 7,000 kilometers driven. I think I paid MSRP, which is, for a used car, it's a lot. I definitely overpaid and I copped the COVID tax, I would say. But it is what it is. The alternative was to wait 12 months for a new car, and that's not something I was ready to do. I'm coming from a Civic Type R, the FK8 Civic Type R. So this is quite a different car. I mean, it is a hot hatch, but quite different to what I had. I had the FK8, which is a front-wheel drive, 4-cylinder turbo, wider, lower, longer car. This is smaller, stubbier, I would say, a bit higher, and it's 4-wheel drive, and I can't see where I'm going. Okay. Yeah, so that's that's in the front wheel drive mode. This car is a riot. It's a monster. So it looks small, it looks innocent on the exterior, as you saw in the beginning of the video. Doesn't look too crazy with too many winglets and wings and spoilers, but it packs quite a punch under the hood. I'm just gonna go fill some fuel and I'll get back. Okay, we've filled some fuel now. This takes 95 RON minimum, which I think is the American version of 93 or 91, I can't remember. But yeah, I've just filled it with some 98. Better safe than sorry, I guess. Why not? Spicy. So yeah, this is a 3-cylinder turbo car. Very, very peppy. Very light. I think it's 1,300 kilos or something. 4-wheel drive, which is shocking for a car this small, this light. Considering, like I said, a lot of the cars in this segment are either bigger with all-wheel drive or bigger with front-wheel drive, like the Civics and the Meganes, the Renault Meganes. So it's definitely a unique car. There's a million reviews out there with much better production quality than myself, so I'm not going to show you much around the car interior or the exterior. I'll just be speaking to you about my experience owning this car. For the first 5,000 or 7,000 kilometers, I dailied it, so it was my only car. So I would go to it for work, errands, trips, etc. School runs, and it was quite nice in the sense that it's a very practical car. It's a hatchback. I only usually drive by myself, or maybe maximum 1 or 2 passengers, so having 4 doors and 4 seats, 5 seats, it's not priority for me. Most of the time, if you look at the back, the rear seats are folded. I move boxes. If you look at my channel, I sell coffee machines for a living, so I need the space. That's why I love hatchbacks. It's fairly comfortable. The seats are very comfortable, I think, for short trips. Someone just got a ticket. For short trips, long road trips, even for sporty driving, they hug you quite nicely. They are Alcantara in the middle and leather around the sides, which is a good combo, I would say, in terms of looks and ease of getting in and out. They're not too bolstered, but bolstered just enough. Not as crazy as the Civics seats, for sure. Suspension is nice and supple. It's a good depth, or what do you call it? A good rebound height. So it's not too stiff or too bouncy. Melbourne doesn't have the best roads, but it's not the worst roads in the world either. So the speed bumps and the potholes are absorbed very nicely by the suspension. This is the POV pack, or the standard non-rally Yaris. They do make a rally, which in Australia involves the front and rear LSDs, slightly stiffer suspension, and other things like brake ducts, I think, and what was it? Red painted brake calipers. I think 1 or 2 more things, but this one is a modified POV pack, so it has the rear LSD from a rally. That's one of the reasons why I settled for the POV pack. Otherwise, I would have gotten a rally, I think. It also has a white line rear sway bar, which helps with side-to-side flex, I think. It also has, as you saw, the Flow Designs body kit, which makes it look really nice. I think the standard Yaris, GR Yaris look is too tame. It doesn't have enough character. I think it looks too tame as is, so a body kit is definitely a must for me, I think. What else? And yeah, it has the Eagle F1 Super Sport tires. I think the stock tires are too bad for this sort of car, the Dunlop Sport Maxes. Every reviewer says they are not grippy enough, and it's the downfall for this car. So yeah, I've enjoyed owning this car with these tires. Stock brakes, stock engine. Oh, I also had, before selling the car, I had the Lamb Speed Racing exhaust. Very loud, very head turning. Now it has the stock one, which I think it sounds too tame. Unfortunately, it sounds like a vacuum cleaner on the outside. On the inside, there's a bit of pumped engine noise, which does, add a bit to the character and makes it sound a bit better. But yeah, I wish they gave it crackles and pops like the i30N. A bit of a better note. What are you doing, man? Yeah, I also installed the MST cold air intake myself. You can have a listen. You can hear the turbo floater if you let go slightly. You can hear the blow-off valve. Well, I can hear it. I don't know if it's coming across on video with all the road noise and the rain, but it's definitely a must. I think exhaust and intake are a must for this car. Yeah, so we were talking about daily livability and comfort. Not the most important thing for a car of this caliber, but I think a lot of people will use it daily as their main car. It's fairly livable, like I said. Obviously it's a manual, so in traffic it'll be a pain in the bum, but it's got IMT, very nice. I use it all the time, most of the time, unless I feel like heel and toe, which I'm not very good at. Steering is light in the car parks like we are now, and it's heavy when you're up and going, when you're moving. The the clutch is a bit heavy and it does clunk if you let it go too quickly. But if you're smooth and you get used to it, it's fairly comfortable ride. It's got the heads-up display, which is something I really appreciate. I think I really missed the heads-up display every time I used a Civic or any other car. Really, it's so good. It's in your line of vision. I never look at the standard dashboard. It's always the heads-up display that gives me everything I want: RPM, speed, cruise control data, lane keep assist, all that. It's also got traffic sign recognition, so if there's a speed limit that I'm breaching, it'll tell me and it'll beep as well. Very nice car. I never use the standard infotainment. I'm always plugged into Android Auto or CarPlay, which works well. It's wired, not wireless, unfortunately. Auto stop start. It's got obviously the diff that you can change, which most of the time I keep it in front wheel drive, not only for economy and the fact that it's safer to have your car front wheel drive than rear wheel drive in wet weather, but also in terms of wear and tear on the diff. I think the front mode has less wear and tear on the clutch pack at the rear, so that's something to consider. But you do notice going to the track mode or going to the rear wheel drive biased mode, you do notice a bit of more tail happy behavior. But unfortunately on public roads it's hard to maximize that. Unless you're on track, you probably won't notice the difference, really. Other than the heads-up display, I think just the controls overall. Steering wheel is nice and firm, not too communicative, but not too bad, I would say. The extent of my knowledge about communicative steering is like an M3 V8 or the Civic Type R, which feel a bit more direct than this, but not too bad on here either. The gear is actually pretty good. I would say it's similar to the Civics, but the Civics is just a little bit more notchy, a little bit more direct. Not too bad, honestly. It's pretty notchy, I would say, as is. You know exactly which gear you're in. I've never misshifted this car. It's always clear what gear I'm in. And with the IMT, I think this is a very good transmission. The clutch is a bit heavy, like I said, but you can get used to that easily. Car has touchless entry, so you can put your head on the door handle or the boot and it'll open. Folding mirrors, standard in these cars. The audio system is a JBL. Not the best, but not the worst. That's not very useful, but I would say it's better than the Civic's audio system, which doesn't have a brand. I think in the US it's Bose on the Civics, but in Australia it's not. Entry and exit, because it's a big door, very easy. It is a bit annoying when you're in the car parks, if you're in the car parks, because the door is longer, so it'll extend more to the side. But very easy to get in and out of. Not too low of a car, so it's good as well. What else can I say? Oh, the brake pedal is nice and firm. Accelerator is nice and linear as well. It is a turbo car, so it is a bit peaky, so you'll get no torque, and then whoop, at the 2,000-3,000, you'll get a lot of torque. It goes well, this car. 3-cylinder turbo, 270 horsepower, I think 270-ish Newton-meters of torque. Not bad at all. And like I said, it's quite light, so the 0 to 100, if you do it properly on a track or on a drag strip, probably 5 to 5.5 if you know how to shift. It does certainly feel that much. And since we're on the topic of power, I think the fact that this car is all-wheel drive is phenomenal. I think this car would have failed as a front-wheel drive only car. Of course, it's a rally. If you guys know this car at all, you'll know it's a rally homologation car. And Toyota had to make this model a two-door model with this engine to compete in the World Rally Championship. I think that quirk on its own is very unique. Not many cars exist for the Rally Championship homologation rules. So I think, yeah, that's just a head turner for me. And yeah, having so much torque and power to the wheels, having four-wheel drive gives you so much confidence. I have never broken traction on dry or on the wet, driving sensibly on public roads. The only time it would break traction is if I'm going sideways and flooring it, or if I'm, you know, revving the hell out of the engine at a dig and then letting go of the clutch, which is not a sensible thing to do anyway. So yeah, it just gives you so much confidence. If you want it to go, it'll go. Merging in traffic, highway or even low speed traffic, is a breeze. Beating people off the line is a breeze, and it's a norm for me now, unless it's like a GTR. But yeah, this car's so peppy, so small, so maneuverable as well, being so small and narrow. Every time I've taken it to the back roads here in Victoria, we have the Black Spur Drive, which is very nice, nice clean roads. Yeah, it just performs phenomenally. Like, it feels right at home at the twisty, fast and slow corners, in the mountains. I'm very happy with the way it drives. I would, for it to be perfect, I would want a bit more chassis control, I would say. So maybe perhaps coilovers, or I'm not sure what would make this car handle better. I'm not a mechanic, but I think coilovers or a better front sway bar or sway bar links would help this tremendously. As is, like I said, for daily living, it's certainly not a problem at all. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's stiff. It's too stiff for daily. I would say it's too soft for sporty driving, if that makes sense. I did notice at corners, especially bumpy corners, it would bounce up and down more than I would like, but generally not a problem. So we've covered my ownership. It's been great, no issues at all. It's a very turboed, very boosted engine, but people compare it to the 2JZ in terms of how well it's built, how thick the cylinder liners are. I don't think there's any common issues for this engine, like no catastrophic issues like the head gasket on the Focus RS, for example. There is three things that are common. What is happening? What is wrong with you? Yeah, so it's a fairly robust engine. From experience, I think the three issues that I know are second and third gear pop out when you're driving really hard. For example, in fourth, and then you go to third, like top of third, and floor it. People have experiences where the gear pops out. Same in second, if you're in third and you go to second at the top of second and floor it, it would pop out. I have never experienced that issue. I've never experienced gear crunches driving normally. The only time I've experienced a gear crunch, and it was just once, was I did something stupid. I was in first and I went to the top of first and then I went to fifth or sixth. Obviously the synchros are screaming for mercy there, so it's sort of my fault not driving it properly, but going one to second, one to third, one to fourth is never an issue. Like now, you just have to be gentle, not force it too hard into the gates or into the actual gear. Just be gentle with it. That's the first thing, the gear pop out. The second thing is, on track, if you ever over rev this car, it's prone to hit valves and have valve float issues. Daily driving, even hitting the rev limit at 6800, 6900, it's fine. It's not going to pop a valve out. But I think if you over rev it by accident, the valve retainers or the springs are not sturdy enough to handle over rev over 7,000 RPM. So that's another issue. If you plan to track this car or drive it really hard, opening the engine and changing the retainers and the springs is a must. And thirdly, it is a known issue that this car doesn't perform well on track. Heat soak wise, it's got the rear diff that heat soaks in the first 15 minutes of track driving, and I guess even the engine can heat soak because it's so small and it's pushing so much boost. People do notice that oil temp's going really high really quickly. The highest I've ever noticed was 110, and I was driving at the Black Spur Drive. I've never had the rear diff overheat. Like I said, mainly because I've never tracked it, and the other thing was because I always use the even driving in the mountains. I always use the normal 60/40 front to rear split, just because of safety and because like I said, I never kick the rear out, so I don't need the rear wheel drive. But yeah, so that's something to note. If you plan to track this car, do know that you'll need to improve the cooling, do a few mods to improve the cooling. So maybe change the rear diff or change the oil or something. People change the actual housing, so they would change it to a single billet housing, I think, for better cooling efficiency. Lamb Speed Racing is a company here in Australia that does that sort of stuff, these track modifications and fabrications. And the same with the engine. I think you could get a better radiator to improve the cooling, but that's not something I considered because I never ran into heating issues. But other than those three, I would say generally quite a reliable car. Not too many issues. I've never had any electronics malfunction. All the comforts work fine as intended. The cruise control works from 25 or 30 kilometers onwards, which is great. Some cars need to be at least 60 or 50 kilometers for that to work. The lane keep assist, I mean. Radar works fine. Yeah, no issues at all. AC is good. It's bare bones. It's basic automatic climate control, but does the job. No issues with the speakers or any of the lighting systems. It's only a 2-year-old car. I wouldn't expect those anyway. But I do notice in terms of quality control, there's a few rattles. When I had the Lamb Speed exhaust, a few rattles around the car, so maybe from the rear, next to where the speakers are. The door card would rattle as well. Sometimes the infotainment would rattle at certain RPMs or very bumpy roads. Now with the stock intake, with the stock exhaust, it's not as much of a problem. It's more tame, I would say, vibrations wise with the stock exhaust. So not the biggest issue here. It does have a heavy flywheel, I noticed. Everyone notices that it has a heavy flywheel, being a 3-cylinder, so it has to keep that momentum. Otherwise it'll be a rough ride if it has a light flywheel. But anyway, with that flywheel, it is a bit of a rev hang. When you're going upshifting or downshifting, you have to wait a little bit, even for the rev match to catch up. Idle is at 1,000 and cold starts are at 1,500, if not more. So this car, it's different to most 4-cylinder cars that you'll drive. It does idle high, and it does, what's the word? It stalls quickly. So in my first week, I think I stalled 5 times. Because it's a 3-cylinder engine, it will stall more easily than like a Civic or any standard 4-cylinder car. I'll say that for sure. But yeah, it is a sad day. I'm on my way back home now from running the errands. We got some coffee machines at the back. If you want to have a look, take the hint, cameraman. What can I ask for more? It's a unique car, unique body shape. The front is a Yaris, the back is a Corolla, and the outside is a completely unique shell that's not in any other car. The engine for its time was the most powerful engine, the most powerful 3-cylinder engine that was beaten by Koenigsegg a few months later, which is a very, very incredible fact, I think, a Toyota losing to a Koenigsegg. And yeah, I'm very happy that Toyota is back making fun cars. Small, nimble, powerful, peppy car that's made to rally. Really can't ask for more. That's what I love about the car. I think at the end of the review, I will say a few negatives. The interior quality is definitely not a $50,000 car interior. It is at max maybe $40,000 or $30,000 car interior. It's quite cheap. There's very little supple material, so hard plastic. This is Alcantara, but with 0 padding underneath. Hard plastic, hard plastic. This is soft. The steering wheel is soft, and the gear selector is leather, and the boot is leather. So that's nice. The seats are nice. Basically, what you touch is nice, but everything else is bare bones, I would say. Even the dashboard looks quite cheap, if you want to show it. It's on 23 kilometers now, and it's quite cheap looking. The screen is tiny, but again, I never look at the actual dashboard. I always look at the heads-up display. display, which is incredible for a small budget car like this to have a heads-up display. I forgot to mention the driving assist system. So this car has hill hold, radar cruise, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring. So all these nice features that some cars miss out on. Actually, the 2017 Civic Type R in the US missed out on those. The i30N didn't have those either. So the fact that this small car has all the features that you want, really, in a modern car, and the power and the fun, I think it's incredible. Again, yeah, I would want a bit more color or a bit more uniqueness to the interior. Maybe a bit better chassis control. I would hope for if I'm tracking this car or keeping it long term. But honestly, that's about it. I can't really fault this car. Getting a bit sad in the last few minutes driving it home now. I'm just happy that I crossed paths with this car. I'm happy that I was alive at the same time as this legend of a creation by Toyota. I think they hit the nail on the head, for sure. There's a reason why this car has a year of waiting list, if not more. There's a reason why it holds its value so well. Even used now with 20,000 kilometers, I'm selling it close to what people pay for it new, which is crazy. There's a reason why it won Car of the Year multiple times in multiple reviewers, multiple magazines, comparisons. It's a unique car. We don't see too many of these days. And yeah, I would say if you're in the market for one, you should buy it. If you want a small, nimble, reliable, unique car. If you ever need more space or need to carry 4 passengers at once, maybe then consider the Civic, the Focus, the Golf. But this car was built for drivers, and mainly for driving. So I guess that's why they compromise on the NVH. They compromise on the interior, mainly to give it that 4-wheel drive system and that incredible engine. And whoever's owning this car next is a very, very lucky man. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And thank you to the 3 people that watched this entire review. Hope you enjoy your purchase. Cheers.